Hey there, everybody. This is Kevin from the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. And today we have another episode recap with our good buddy, the winner of Survivor 43, Mike Gabler of the Baka tribe. How are you doing today, Mike?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here. Great to see you, Kevin. Love Survivor Nation.
Oh, absolutely. You know who we also love aside from Survivor Nation? Emily Flippin.
Emily Flippin. How can we not? Emily is flipping awesome. She's
She's the
been
most
just a delight
wonderful.
to watch this season.
Absolutely. One of the absolute breakout stars of the season, other than the only person that she's behind right now, in my opinion. One, that praying mantis thing that was dancing with the tribe this past episode.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, it was. I guess it thought it was like blowing in the wind. It was just doing this thing. That was hilarious when they were all dancing around that thing.
Absolutely. Could you see the Jiah tribe ever doing that, or Jiah tribe wasn't up to that level?
It's hard to say, but I know Cody's got some groove to him. So my guess is he would have started and we all would have kind of followed in behind.
Absolutely. I could see it. I could see you all just gathering around Cody, Livin, right?
Oh, yeah.
It,
He would be
aside
into
from
that
me,
for sure.
aside from that, my second breakout star of the season, who honestly is number one, is Austin Lee's mom, Austin Lee Coon's mom, Eva Lee. She's wonderful. She's like the biggest celebrity at all these like watch parties and everything. And Twitter, follow her on Twitter if you don't.
I actually am. She's terrific. She's a lot of fun. I love that his family is getting as much fun of this as possible out of it, and why not? It's a great show. It's turning out to be a fantastic season. So I think it's awesome. And Austin's
Absolutely.
crushing
It's
it.
so it's so fun on and off. Austin is incredible, as we all know. Right now, like in my power rankings from episode 1 till now, Austin's still number 1. He's been one every single week. There's no point where he's been taken down a peg. And that's mainly because he keeps getting advantages and he's really strong and he's been on tribes that just don't lose. And he is very charming, I think, when he deals with people. So but like not too charming like Caleb. So to your point,
Yeah.
you know,
He's doing a better job with his threat management than our good friend Caleb, because Caleb, love him, want to go have a
he's
beer with him
great.
right now.
He's
But
great.
yeah, if he survives next week, it's only because he was able to get his threat level under control. That's it. Because he's wow to get a unanimous vote at the merge. Yikes, that's tough. But at least he had Emily telling him what was coming down.
It's true. Emily once again ends up doing something particularly for Caleb, that saves his butt twice. This is now twice this has happened and furthers her game in the end as well. So you have to be really impressed with Emily's game, like we were talking about. She's absolutely wonderful. I have a little graphic here. Eventually we're going to talk about this, but might as well right now, I guess. I mean, actually, hold on. We're going to hold off on that for the time being. I just want to show her pretty face, okay?
You
What I really want
bet.
to get into to start off with is instead, Mike Gabler is known for, at least in the new era for sure, the one of the most important things that's happened throughout the time is the Mergatory. That's one of the newest big additions of the Survivor game of the new era. And one of the things that I was thinking about going into it was when the tribe wins, whichever tribe wins the Mergatory, and they're at the feast, you have these two mega tribes and the tiny little former Lulu all sitting there. What name is going to be thrown out first? That was really the question I had, who was going to do it. And just to refresh your memory there for folks at home, this is what I'm talking about when I say Mike Gabler is kind of the one that's most synonymous with it. So take a look and enjoy real quick with Gabler and I.
You bet.
Oh, didn't go to the stage. Here you go.
So that's something for me that I remember.
If everybody was fractured, they need something to go for. And by throwing out Ellie's name, I was trying to throw out Ellie's name. The trust has been broken with me and Ellie since day 3.
So right now, I'm targeting enemies.
By throwing out Ellie's name, I was trying to throw out Ellie's name. That is the classic line of the new era. What did you think of that one?
I thought it was awesome. The Mergatory is one of the absolute coolest things anyone that's a fan of Survivor can be a part of. I mean, to make that merge feast, I mean, that's something that all of us fans sit on the couch, we watch, and you're kind of looking to see what they're eating and all this food. And, they're hungry, off the charts hungry. And to get all that food in there, it just creates such a positive buzz of energy and goodwill. And all of a sudden the game will turn, and then it'll go from the celebration to the collaboration. And, you got to put out I know it's a very fertile time to throw out somebody's name and plant that seed is at that lunch. And if you happen to be in that position, if I ever find myself in that position again, expect the same thing where there's a seed coming out, because that is a good time in the game where strangers have a target that's not them. And that is a lot of momentum coming out of that lunch. And then it's up to the players to avoid those jabs for the rest of the day before the tribal council comes down. And that's kind of what happened with Caleb. And Caleb, people were he was so busy on the beach being social and strategic. Too many people saw it. And I think people even like Bruce might have even been jealous of the friendship he had with Caleb. He's like, hey, maybe I'm not as close as Caleb as I thought, because he's that way with so-and-so down the beach. And that may be something, for him to cool on a bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of dynamics that you were just talking about that admittedly I have like a ton of questions about. The Bruce and Caleb one we're going to talk about in a hot second, because that became a big effect out of this whole thing, I think, on the cause and effect scale. But for the actual Mergatory, I was wondering who would do it. Sefue was really kind of the first one to really mention Jiah. He was just straight up like, listen, I want Jay gone. I didn't see Sefue doing it. Honestly, I thought Bruce was absolutely going to be the one to do it. Depending on who was on his team, I thought he was either going to say Katurah or probably Caleb. Now, we know how it broke out. It ended up being Caleb, which I have to say,
surprised me.
I mean, it surprised me in a way, but I have to say it makes perfect sense that you would go for Caleb. But I admit, I don't know how you feel about this. I mean, you're the Gabler, so maybe I know how this is going to get answered. I'm not sure. I would think that Caleb's kind of a guy that, because he's so plugged in with so many people, whether they think he's double timing them or not, I feel like he's someone you would have to attack super on the sly rather than at a merge feast. Now, how did you feel about Bruce kind of throwing his name out then in that situation?
I didn't think it was going to go. I was surprised to get as many people behind it as at that time, because people that had just met him had already established a little bit of rapport with him, because he's so good at being social. He's a great guy. And so I was surprised, if I was in a situation like that and had, a name came up, like say Caleb gets brought up to me, I'm like, I just met him. He seems good. We're going to work together. I think I'm going to work with this guy. So I think that the fact that Bruce threw that out there was, he must have had other conversations with some other people somewhere. Maybe we didn't see that, because he must have known, because it was a big name to throw out. And if you didn't have the numbers, that would have backfired so badly on him. But it didn't. He had the numbers, and they all worked to get the numbers. Jiah is the other one whose name got thrown out at that feast. And interestingly enough, after Caleb played his shot in the dark, and I still got mine, it's right there. That's what it looks like. That's the shot in the dark. But after he played that, immediately there was discussion. But it didn't matter. The second name that was thrown out was the second name that went home. And that's Jiah's was on deck during that.
Which is fascinating, because, I mean, when you watch it and you see that all votes were 10-0 for Caleb, it's pretty shocking, considering everyone knew that shot in the dark was a possibility. I mean, this is the new era. So all 10, Caleb, no vote randomly thrown another way. Did you feel that was shockingly old school?
It was shockingly old school, which I think everybody loved. I think everybody that loved Survivor loved the old school tribal that was. It was really, really fun too. But I was surprised. I thought Emily was going to take a shot at either Jiah or even Bruce or somebody else to, I'm surprised nobody hedged the bet, because in a Survivor situation like that, it's not impossible. It's statistically unlikely, but it's not impossible that he gets that. I mean, he's got 1 in 6 chance. That's not a bad chance to have. And of course he was going to roll it, because or play an idol or do something. So you have to have a backup person in mind. And if that's not part of your strategy, I don't think it's terrible. Like if Emily would have voted for somebody else, I mean, I think it would have looked good for her. I mean, it would have raised her threat level a little bit more. but I think it would have also been a good move. She could have taken out anybody she wanted to, because all the votes were going the other direction.
Absolutely. Can you imagine, like, she ends up doing it to, I don't know, who's probably a big dog at this point? I mean, probably Bruce is up there, obviously a Drew and Austin. One of those three go home because of a stray Emily vote. The legend of Emily flipping would continue. It gets so much bigger.
It'd be a lot flipping bigger, that's for sure. No, it's because I think she would have taken out Bruce because Bruce targeted Caleb, her closest ally, and I think that would have been her move. And I think that, and I could be wrong, I'm not on the island, but it's like, I don't know how tight Bruce is with everybody else on the island, because he was tightest, I thought, with Caleb, and that really soured quickly. So maybe Bruce doesn't have as many relationship. I mean, people clearly like him, but do they like him? I don't know. We'll have to see that.
Well, that's actually like kind of a second question that I have for you, which I think is really interesting. I've noticed the kind of the discourse on Twitter, which is a joke at times. So I try not to use that as a gauge. And also even Reddit, which is fascinating. People are saying, like, Bruce, he's the new era villain that I never knew we needed. I don't know how you feel about this. I don't understand the perception that he's a villain in any way. Like, maybe he's jealous of Caleb, like having these different relationships and not being talked to. Isn't that like Survivor 101? The idea that you should get upset when everyone else is having conversations about strategy in the vote, but they're not having them with you?
Yeah. I mean, Caroline talked about that at the Rob as a podcast thing in LA when they had their live showing, about how, it really hurt her feelings when she was there and she could identify with Bruce during that, because, when you're left out of conversations, it's very lonely out there, right? So you always do your best to be in the conversations. And I always made a point too, when I was having conversations, if I looked down the beach and saw somebody that was, we all went highs and lows emotionally, but somebody that's having a tough time, or they're off by themselves, or maybe they feel isolated, like say Cassidy or somebody else, I would make a point to go down there and grab them, so that they would, as a human that wants to, hey, you're having a tough time, this game's hard, we're doing our thing, let's get back in there, all good. And also strategically, because then you're like, I'm the person that reached out to them. I'm the person that's helping them. I'm the person that they can now go to for safe harbor. And they'll pull you along because they trust you and like you. And then you can pull them along too, because you trust and like them. So those are those really cool webs that you can weave. And if you're lucky enough and good enough, you can pull them off. But it's really that's the game. That is the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't remember who said it. My mind tells me it was Sandra, but it probably wasn't. It's like someone said, it's like, listen, if someone's not coming up and talking to you about it, they're talking to someone else about it. So you always have to remember that.
For sure.
That's why in that moment, I'm like, okay, well, it also makes total sense that he would want to get rid of Caleb. Everyone should want to get rid of Caleb. Everyone did try to get rid of Caleb. It was a 10-0 vote. I know Emily didn't really want to vote that way, and I guess Katurah probably didn't either, but they were clearly on the wrong side of the majority in the end. So I didn't understand that. I mean, like, Bruce, I've met Bruce a few times. I love Bruce. I can understand like a lot of energy out there, or feeling like a dad to a tribe. I understand that could be grating if you're around each other 24/7 for 26 days. But I don't think that makes him a villain. Like, you could argue it's annoying, but that's not.
Yeah. I think the villain is overused. People have called Emily a villain. She's just a wizard. I think she's great. I think Bruce is his own force of nature. I think if you're not an obvious protagonist, then you can be looked at like the antagonist, because maybe you're like say Caleb, you look at him as the knight in shining armor, that could be a hero. And then you look at Bruce, who's like playing a good game, but maybe he's just not as glamorous, say, as Caleb. So he's there. I don't know, or he's more clumsy. Maybe that could be it too. Because he's, I think some of these things that like Bruce will do with Bruceisms can be a little bit, you're like, ooh, a little cringy. Or even Emily, especially early Emily, right? Super cringy. But I'll tell you, that person, not just on the show, but in real life, that changed her. You can see her growth on that show as a human. I think it's awesome. That's what Survivor does for you. It puts you in these really tough situations. You have to look at yourself. You see what's working, you see what's not working. And if you're going to survive, you've got to adapt and change. And with Caleb's help, he took her under his wing, and it certainly paid off for him. But that she listened to him and she took his advice, and socially he's as good as anybody I've ever seen. So, she took his advice and she's using it and she's getting better. And oh my gosh, if she continues this trajectory of Survivor evolution, she just might get to the end of this thing, which would be so crazy considering the beginning.
I have to say, it's getting to a point where obviously they're not the same people, but I'm feeling the same way about her as I did with Carolyn last season, where I can very easily see a final 3 trip for Emily.
Now I can.
Will she win? That's a different question, but she's out of the danger zone of her as a player, as an archetype, whatever you want to say, in this season. Her biggest problem was the first couple of votes. Past that, is there any reason why out of the group, this whole tribe here, is there any reason why Emily should be the target anytime soon?
No, I don't think so. And I think that the only way that would be is if you had 2 other strong tribes that are still holding their tribal lines, and then you've got the 2 Lulus in the middle. I don't think so. In fact, I know so. We saw it. There's cracks all through those things in different ways. So, and then leave it to Jeff to find some amazing way to shake up the game even further with either immunities or some reward or some other advantage. She could go very deep in this thing, and she's a good, she's going to have, if she gets to the end, oh my God, if she gets to the end, she's going to have a hell of a story to tell. And if she's able to tell that story well, I mean, even if she's sitting next to Caleb, I think she could tell a story if she has the ability to tell that story well. That could be a better than Caleb's story, considering her humble beginnings.
Absolutely. And what I love about Emily is, and obviously I don't think I'm misspeaking here, is she's like a no bullshit person.
I love her. Yeah, that's right.
And I love that in real life. I think that's great. But in the game, it's tough to be a no bullshit person and progress. What she's really good at is she keeps sensitive information sensitive, which is awesome. The problem is like random other stuff. She just doesn't stop herself. Calling out Bruce right away.
That's her learning to be more. Survivor is absolutely a social game. So, I mean, just to go off subject for just a second, I mean, look at Sefue, just got final 5 on Big Brother. I know that, that was the end for her, but she got to the 5th place on Big Brother, 93 days in that household. And that's a 99% social game, that one, or 95% social game. And so she was able to navigate that like a pro. And if she could have just
unless you're Jag, it's a social game.
I want to see Jag play Survivor now. So yeah.
Me too. I'm sorry to cut you off there. It made me laugh right away. I'm like, unless you're Jag, you can come to the end. But absolutely, to your point, you're right. It's a huge social game. Obviously, you can get to the end like that. And Sefue is maybe the greatest example of just, if you're really good with people, you can navigate any of these games based on social relationships, whether there's a physical component or not. And Emily's proving that the evolution that she's going through right now, it's definitely going to benefit her in the end. And I'm actually kind of curious, because we're talking about how awesome Emily is. In the next episode, I think the immunity challenge is the classic. You hold onto a pole, like they're just all going to be hanging on poles for as long as they can. Little
foot pads, maybe.
Yeah, with
smaller as you go.
Exactly. Well, I don't know if it's going to get smaller, but I think there are several sections that you can reset. So that's actually a challenge I could see her possibly winning. So it'd be smart of her not to win, I think, based on how it's constructed right now.
Stay low.
Yeah, exactly. Because even if whatever the next challenge, let's say Caleb wins, I still don't think she would be the next target, even as the other Lulu.
Agreed.
Yeah, so I think she's got to take a page out of the Gabler book and kind of chill out a little bit. Now, Caleb may take another chapter out of the Gabler book, and he may really need to win the next one. So hopefully some new commotion gets generated and the heat comes off of Caleb in the meantime.
Very well said, Kevin. I think that's exactly what Caleb needs to do. He needs to, even though it's going to raise his threat level a little bit more, like back in my season, we had a big MERGATOry competition, feast, a lot of drama, radical tribal council, and I was high on everybody's radar. We just got together. So what did I do the very next day? I won my first individual immunity challenge, which made everybody that was still kind of looking around have to look at everybody except for me. I think it's the most important thing he can do is win that challenge on Wednesday, so that he is immune. There will be other targets and enemies will form with other people that are more personal and hotter relationship wise versus, hey, I just really like Caleb and he's good at challenges. We should get rid of him at the next time. They'll get him. They'll target him again later, but he could buy himself 2 or 3 weeks by winning that and letting other people fight it out while he continues to dodge bullets and build a new strategy. Yeah, could be.
I think
Huge opportunity for him.
It'd be massively huge because I try to think back critically to your game, and that probably was, quite frankly, the most important immunity that you could have won individually. Even after that, you weren't really in danger after that. It didn't seem that way.
It set the table for me in a nice way. I mean, I tried to win them all, but that was the one that I just happened to be able to get and out the gate, and it was the most important one because my name may have come up a couple days later somewhere, but the fact that it didn't, it was great. It was great.
Absolutely. Well, I guess the question for you is, let's say Caleb doesn't win immunity the next time. What do you think his survival chances are?
Well, does he have an idol right now?
No, he doesn't have anything. He's clean.
No, he doesn't. He knows about Bruce's idol. That's all he does. That's right.
He does. He knows about Bruce's. Okay. Austin has one right now. And
Drew has the power of safety advantage where he basically can play it, but he loses his vote, but he can't be voted on.
Correct. Okay. And of course, the amulets are out there. So now Kelly and Austin have a steal a vote if they pair up, which is very frightening because I really like Kelly, but obviously Austin's probably going to be gunning for her.
He's gunning for her. But see, isn't it wild? You get between a person and a sandwich, and that could be all it takes to put you number one on somebody's list. And then, of course, the power of the amulet, that does worry me because I think, the beach is too big for Caleb and Kelly. One of them will go in the next couple of weeks, I would think. I would, Kelly's under the radar a little bit, but people are also recognizing her. She's good. She's physically dangerous too. She could probably win. I think she could beat Caleb in this next week individual immunity, and that could send Caleb home. Because if anybody could beat Caleb, it could be Kelly.
I'm confident she's going to win the next that immunity challenge. Actually, I mean, I don't know if it's in her favor to do that. Like we were talking about with threat.
It'll put her way high on the radar if she does it, but because she's not on anybody's radar too much right now, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, she's like people know she's getting around and she's forming relationships and stuff, but there's just too many other people. Like Katurah is put out front by Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce is being put out front probably by a lot of people. Obviously, with Caleb, Austin and Drew, I'm sure they're being talked about, but apparently not as seriously as some of the other people, even though they absolutely should be. It's interesting how it's shaping up now at this point, but
it really is. And if you look at who was omitted from your list there, as you were going through your list, the people that are really in the sweet spot, Emily, Dee, Julie, they're good. They're doing a good job, but they're not being they got shields all around them. I don't see them being brought up. I don't see them being brought up in the next week or two. They're still under the radar a little bit.
Neither do I. I mean, you look at the list, like on the graphic we have here, there's a few folks that probably it's not going to be their ticket anytime soon, at least intentionally. I mean, I guess they could be shrapnel, kind of like Jiah was last time.
Oh yeah.
Dee was showing all signs of eventually being a big chess player in this game and moving pieces around. Kendra, I don't know Kendra's deal. I mean, I think she's around for at least a little bit. I don't think she'll be the target of stuff. Julie, definitely, I don't think she'll be the target of anything. Sefue is one of those weird cases. I'm kind of curious. Like it seems like they're starting to show some agency in his game the last 2 or 3 episodes, which is great, rather than just making him some like caricature of a person. But I mean, I'm starting to really dig it because they're getting him out of the purple edit. But I do have to say, I think Kelly or a D is probably going to win the next one, and it could change things.
It will change things. It always changes things. And, Sefue is somebody that he reminds me a lot of Ryan on my season. Ryan, the big man, who did
All right. Yeah.
a lot of fishing, and he was just he's a great person. He's a guy that's just having fun out there, and I know Sefu's playing the game, but he's having a lot of fun, and maybe that's working for him for right now. Because I don't, he was angry at Jiah because they kind of tricked him into thinking that that's who wrote his name down, but she's gone now, so maybe he's back to having fun. But eventually, he'll have to get serious too, or he'll be a number for somebody. I don't think he's annoying people. I think he's just, I think he seems like a really cool guy. I mean, I would get along with him. I know personally he's somebody I would get along with because, martial arts are very interesting to me, and I know the discipline it takes and everything. And I think he'd be very interesting to listen to.
I agree. First of all, I would like to hang out with him. One, because he does seem fun, and two, he did the. I'm a big anime fan these days, and he did the Goku Kamehameha at one point during the episode.
That was so cool. Yeah. I didn't know what he was doing, but I was like, that's really cool. I just thought
I recognized it right away. I was like, yo, Goku, that's right. I loved
Power
it.
Beam.
I'm not like when a few episodes ago when people were talking about like Brandon was talking about Pokemon, like that one wasn't for me. But when he did that, I was like, this is amazing. But
I didn't even know what that was, but I was like, dude, he's just sending like a life beam full speed. I could tell it was cool. So he was all in on that, and he looks like a pretty fun guy. Plus, you know that you're gonna be safe anywhere you're near him because my guess is he knows his stuff on the judo mat.
I would say so. He's even got like a formal I guess
he has a couple black belts and something. Yeah, he's like a big karate guy. Not karate, maybe. I don't
like martial arts of some type.
Some kind. He does something really well.
Yeah. I mean, he's also just a big dude. I'm sure he'll be like, aside from knowing what he's doing, he's just a big guy. So yeah, you're right. You'll probably be safe no matter what around him. But I will, like you were talking about, like you really wanted Jiah out, and now that happened, obviously. But that is the one thing. The only thing we know about his game so far at this point is he wants Jiah out. Now he's got to figure out a new goal of what to do, what his next step in his pathway is. And I'm very interested to see what that'll end up being, because it seems like he's a very go with his feelings on stuff kind of guy, because that's what he's shown in his game to be so far, I think. And I don't know what that's going to be.
Well, it's right. And, Ryan was the same way too, because Ryan was all in on getting Cassidy out, and Cassidy was all in on getting him out. They were kind of like, he put her name out there, and that was it, because that was one of his earlier targets when they were together on their Coco tribe. So he was pretty focused on that, and then having a good time. We'll see what Sefue does. I haven't seen Sefue get really into an alliance with somebody, a big alliance yet, but we'll see. We got a lot of the season still left to play, and I love these 90-minute episodes. By the way, I love it.
Yeah, they're going super well. I mean, we're seeing, I think, just enough to really like satisfy us from basically all around. I mean, you're able to see not only just idols being found or the strategy after, wondering about the shot in the dark.
For sure.
See a little bit longer tribal councils, I guess, these days. And, we get to learn about the personalities. Because, again, like I said, like Sefue was essentially purpled up until 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's even with the 90 minutes. But now it's getting a little more serious. To be fair, they had to dedicate a lot of time to Lulu in the first couple episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Now past that.
Yeah. Well, if you look at last week's 90-minute episode, I mean, I challenge you to take 5 minutes out of that show that wasn't good. They did a good job delivering 90 minutes. And that's what I thought. That's why it's working. They're showing more. They're getting a little bit deeper. I mean, I thought, like when we were watching 44, it was a little rushed. Some of the stuff they were doing, I would have loved to have seen a little bit more either camp life or explanation of like the birdcage that they had things. It was more like, birdcage, this is it. You can't vote for Danny. It's going to be, it's like bam, bam. It was really quick. And then, the characters end up, you win, they win your heart. You start watching it. 44 was a great season, but I would have loved 44 in 90 minutes. I would have loved our season in 90 minutes too, but that's just the way it goes, and I think we're there now. I don't know whether it was exclusively because of the writer's strike or not, but I think
it definitely helped.
And I hope CBS continues to do a 90-minute episodes, because I'm enjoying it a lot.
It's just good. I think it's just good for business. I mean, Survivor's a highly rated show still to this day. and you know, it seems like it's improving the things for the base of fans that they have. It's somehow linking kind of old school and the new era in a way that
Yeah,
I think makes people a little bit happier. So I don't know why they would ever abandon it at this point, right?
it's great. It certainly is a winner. I haven't talked to one person yet. Maybe people can leave you comments, but one person yet that doesn't like the 90-minute seasons. I think they're awesome. So
I've only
we'll see
seen
how.
one comment so far, which I think is pretty good because
Yeah,
usually, you know, online a lot of times people can be pretty miserable about the product because they're like the loudest voices or the most miserable
sure,
voices
sure.
at times. And but that goes to show about how well it's been going. I'm still
It's
going to
very
make fun of
true.
Jeff Probst a little bit when it comes to some of the weird mechanics of the game, but most of the ones I didn't really like of the new era are in 41, actually 41 and 42. Honestly, 43 is when they started to turn the corner a little bit. I wasn't totally sold on the beat idol. Yeah, I know. Fortunately, it's your season. I wasn't
43.
total. I wasn't totally sold on the beat idol at first, but I actually like that one the best so far because of the beware advantage idols. Because I felt there was the key core component of Survivor, which is you need to form good relationships and negotiate with one another in order to
It
get
was
something.
really cool. I loved that, and I loved watching it on 43, where you had three people get the beware advantage,
Mhm.
and they had three different strategies for how they were going to make that an idol. And they were all Janine got with Ellie, and then was surprised upon by Owen, and
Mhm.
then by Sammy, and then trickled back to me, versus Carla, who didn't tell a soul. She took it all on herself and was gifting her tribe mates in exchange for not a bead, but the bead she needed to
Mhm.
make hers active, and kept that secret. And then Cody, with his best loyal ally, Jesse, he got him to help with distractions, and kind of like, oh, hey, you can have my bead here. You can have this one. So
He
it
made
was
a hat.
really a lot of thinking on your feet.
Yeah, I mean, like, just to further hype up Cody's, he's like, yeah, I want to make a big hat. So everybody give me all your beads.
It's totally reasonable. Why would that be unreasonable? It's not unreasonable. It was very
It's
reasonable.
not. I need beads for my palm frond hat. I mean, that makes sense. Who's gonna question? Because like now that you like everyone knows a little bit about Cody and you know Cody a lot better. That's not very odd. Like that's not a very odd request from someone like Cody, probably.
It's not an odd request at all. And me and Sammy went visited him in Hawaii this summer back in August. We went cliff diving. We went driving around Honolulu on motor scooters with
Sounds like Cody.
1970s goggles and stuff. It was so fun. He's even cooler in real life than he is even on the show. He's just that guy, Livin living. In fact, so much so that the last night we were there, Cody literally, we went to a tattoo shop, and I'm like, there's no way they're going to let him do this because, tattoo license or whatever. I've got a lot of tattoos. I'm like, there's no way they're just going to let some random dude tattoo some other people. Well, that was wrong. So we ended up going to this tattoo parlor in Honolulu on our last night there, because we couldn't do it before because we couldn't get in the ocean after we did that. So Cody's like, hey, man, we're going to go up and get our Livin tattoos on the butt cheeks. And we're like, sure we will. I look at Sammy. I'm like, you cool with this, dude? You cool? So we end up going there. We get to the tattoo parlor, and Cody literally with the tattoo gun, Livin on our back hips on me and Sammy, did it. Hilarious. I don't know, man.
You let Cody brand you two?
We are on there. We are Livin living, and man, we just crushed it that weekend. We went climbing things. We were jumping in the ocean. We kayaked over to this island. It was a lot of fun, man. But I digress. I mean, that's just what, like, the friendships you make from the people you meet on the show. I mean, if they're really great people, and if you take the time to get to know them, you've got $1 million friendships all around there. Yeah, you bet.
Absolutely, and that is one of my favorite things of the new era. As someone who's a little bit more around the actual like community of castaways and fans and stuff like that, I do love that about the new eras because I think for the most part, a lot of castaways kind of feel that way. They do come out of it with a sense of community, and there are a lot of old school seasons that have the same thing too.
Oh
But
yeah.
there's also it felt like there were a few more like bitter people or people that genuinely just wanted to come play the game and get out. So I think that's an interesting piece of it, but. I guess kind of dialing back to we were talking about the idols and everything.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Interesting thing about the idol. This one, for some reason, I got annoyed right away because there was no explanation, even though there was 90 minutes. but I guess they typically don't explain this. Right before everyone left the Lulu camp, Bruce and basically everybody not named Katurah ended up getting an idol for Bruce to take to the merge. So he found it this past episode, and it's a full idol. There's nothing interesting about it. There's no wax covering it. They didn't have to pull it out of any animal's like butt or anything. He just gets an idol out from under the camp. And like the only thing I can think of is it because it was the second idol at Lulu? So they were like, wait, we did the fun idol. Now you just get a plain one. Like, did that seemed unfair. I'm like, Austin's risking his vote.
I personally, I'm gonna be the contrarian in that one. So
Okay.
I like it because there's so many things going on right now. We don't need another really tricky idol to play. I think there's enough chess going on that it was there. Now, the real question is like when he was digging for it the second time, they ran some interference for him. They told him they were going to the merge. They have 10 minutes to get their stuff. He's got 10 minutes to find this idol. I mean, Bruce got it, showed everybody, okay, cool. And obviously the secret's now out to the entire tribe because, he fractured with Caleb. Caleb told everybody, and now I don't blame Caleb. That's how it goes. But that lasted a total of 1 day, his secrecy, maybe not even the full day, and the entire beach knew about it. So maybe instead of that, if people weren't watching him the minute they knew he was digging for it, but maybe just dig a giant hole, put it in there, and you just sell yourself like Oscar night, but you have to come out of there like really frustrated, freaked out, maybe grab somebody with like 2 minutes left, go, bro, I can't find it. Look on the beach here. Help me look at this. And then have them be a part of your failure, quote unquote. And maybe they may question that you have an idol, but they don't know, but you got one. And
that's true.
They think you don't have it. And maybe they think you didn't get it out of the beach. I mean, there's no advantage in telling people anything on Survivor. So anybody listening to the sound of my voice that is going to be playing this show, keep a secret as best you can to the bitter end, like Jesse did. Look at Jesse on our season, where he had not just one but 2 idols. Well, one idol he had that Cody knew about, but the other one nobody knew about it. Cody didn't know about it. I didn't know about it. We didn't know about it until it got played. And even Janine,
you all thought it left with Dwight, right?
We thought it left with Dwight. So did Janine, which is what's so crazy. So, I mean, her reaction was just incredible. She had just was like she had seen a ghost. It was like absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I love that. I wish I had a picture of that to pop up right now. Sadly, I don't have that loaded, but that's an all-timer.
Yeah, you could probably put that one on your save list because that was great.
Absolutely. Actually, it was on Twitter the other day. Jesse, I love Jesse. He doesn't really comment about Survivor that much unless he can make fun of someone or something, And they was passing around a graphic. It said most overrated player in the new era, and it was a picture of Jesse. And he said something like, "Yup, you're right," or something. And I was just like, "Oh yeah, I guess he should have bamboozled 3 people out of their idols instead of just the 2." Are you kidding me?
Exactly, man. It's exactly. No, he's quite a ninja. There's no doubt about it, and he's a real likable guy. I did have to. What did I do? I did something. I sent him something.
You sent him home. You sent him home, Gabler.
Oh yeah.
You sent him home with fire.
No. Cassidy sent me on a mission. That was it. So all good. But we ended up. His son was doing some juggling. That's what it was. And I commented on the thing. I said, I go, Jesse, dude, he could beat you in a challenge right now. And Jesse was just like, oh, dude. He's like, he'll be back to avenge me, Gabler. He'll be back to avenge me.
That's right. I remember seeing that.
His son Jiah, bring me the money, or get that money, daddy, or something like that. Yeah.
Well, his son's like kind of like a becoming more of like a celebrity than him. He was on like Mr. Beast's like one of his challenges or something, and I know. Yeah, he was. He was in some video where he was doing a competition with Mr. Beast, and a lot of people like that guy, Mr. Beast. I don't know a lot about him. I just know he has a lot of money. He's on YouTube and da da da. I know there was that, and he, I know he like hung out with some of the WWE people at a show or something. I'm like, man, this kid's
what? Yeah, Jesse's
everywhere.
big into wrestling. Jesse's big into wrestling, which a lot of Survivor people are into wrestling.
Carla is.
It's just a fact. So there's a lot of that out there. So I don't know. Everybody.
I love wrestling. I love wrestling.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's fun.
It's so goofy. It's all scripted. It's just it's like I always say it's athletic theater. It's always, I don't know. I enjoy it.
It is pretty
But
fun. It is pretty
but
fun.
absolutely, it's great how it's shaped up. And you're right. I think that for the most part, there's almost no advantage to be able to really tell anyone any kind of advantage like that. I guess you could argue it can strengthen a bond, but as we saw from Jesse and Cody, it could also easily screw you over. I don't know why Cody let Jesse hold on to his idol for so long, but that's a topic for another day. But
Sure
yes,
is. Yeah.
it's what we call optionality, or at least I call optionality. If Bruce had done what you said, which is say like, "Oh, dude, I didn't find it," yeah, maybe some people think he did find it, but they can't prove it, and it's not definitive. They didn't hear from the horse's mouth or anything. So Bruce probably did a misstep, but that probably speaks to maybe you could argue delusion or confidence in his how he feels about his relationships in the Lulu tribe. And I think that makes sense considering the rest of his language throughout the episode of why aren't people talking to me? Or he sat him around and said, listen, old tribal lines are gone. We're voting with the majority.
I think that, him being in that position right there, it just shows, even though I think he was very confident in his position at the time of him finding the idol, I think he was best buds with everybody on that beach. It was awesome. And it was the right thing at the right time. 5 hours later, everything had completely changed. And that's why I think it's good to keep things quiet, hide things if you can, because you can, if you can. Now, if you can't, like for example, on mine, when I went on a journey and I risked my vote to get an idol, I came back to the beach and I had to, it said, go somewhere and read this and then go back to camp. And I was like it was like day 2 or 3. And I'm like, I know it's, you don't loose lip sync shift, so I don't want to tell anybody, but they're right there. There were 2 other people on those journeys that are going to go back to other tribes. So if I do make the merge and they find out I'm lying, it would be bad. So I chose to read it in front of everybody and let everybody hold the idol and put it back in my pocket. So
I
you're
think that
right.
was probably the wise. I mean, you won the game, obviously it was, but I mean, it's and I know Probst does it in that way. It's like impossible to hide it. So you can either try to be deceptive with like a 2% chance of being successful,
2% chance. You have like a 2% chance of pulling off a lie because remember, you're starving, you're tired, you're everything else. You're not your sharpest self. And like before going on the show, so I'm a heart valve specialist. You know that I put together heart valves for transcatheter aortic valve replacement called TAVR.
doctor stuff.
Doctor stuff, but I'm not a doctor. I just do
I
heart
know.
valves. But this is what a heart valve looks like. It looks like this, and that's its actual size right there. So
Oh,
there
that
it
looks
is.
like a crown.
Bovine pericardial tissue, little skirt to seal up in the aortic valve. Pretty cool.
Do you rest your
But
shot in the dark on that valve thing?
I have all kinds of stuff over there. Yes, I've got all my certified. I got this from Todd.
Oh yeah, that's an awesome one. Todd Herzog, the
Yeah.
winner of Survivor China. For those who don't know who that is,
Yep.
no, that's a great Gabler. Okay,
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But what were we saying before? I forgot.
we're talking about 2% chance of being successful.
Oh yes, yes.
And before you were on the show, you thought, and that's where I cut you off.
No. So if you got a small chance of the thing being a story not being believable, or a small chance of it being successful, don't do it, because I thought about so I'm a heart valve specialist, put together heart valves for physicians that put them in, and I'm like, do I say that I'm a heart valve specialist, or do I say I'm a fancy plumber? Because I am a fancy plumber. That's what I am. And usually, if you say you're a fancy plumber, that's like a conversation killer, anyways, which is just fine. So then we can say, well, what do you do? I do fancy plumbing. What do you do? And the way I look, people could be like, well, maybe he is, does his own thing, or I don't know. Who knows what they thought? But after consulting about it with some friends, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep my story truth. I'll be transparent. And that way I don't have to worry about getting caught in a lie, and that way I can worry about other aspects of the game and not those. And I think that worked out okay, because nobody wants to say they're a lawyer anymore, but
which I think is
maybe
weird.
they got to make something up then. But I don't think being a lawyer is bad if you spin it right. You just got to talk. You just got to be able to talk the talk.
Exactly. I don't I know Katurah is the kind of the main one that was like, yeah, I don't want to tell people I'm a lawyer. I don't know why. I mean, they were just mentioning that part of that whole segment was that there were other people on the tribe that was a lawyer, Jake, And that would be a commonality rather than something you want to hide, I would think. But I'm also not the biggest fan of Katurah's game up to this point. But I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of in the minority in that regard. But beside that, but yes, I think it was probably smart to go with that because you're gonna have a bunch of different lies and information to keep straight. Why would you even bother with that one? That's just pointless.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because I was like, I just don't want to go too much down a pathway that I can't explain, or that comes out later and they're like, oh, that wasn't cool. I don't think there's anything threatening about being a guy that puts together heart valves. I mean, you could assume some things about it, but it's still okay. I help people. Maybe that's a good thing. At least that's what I thought. I'm like, I'm just going to do that. And I'm just going to be somebody so tired and hungry. I don't want to trust keeping up with some story. I'm just going to do it.
Exactly. It's pointless. So you just pop open the idol, just do a ho, and then everyone knows it's over.
Yeah. And early on like that too. And we were a tribe, we were tribes competing as tribes. Showing that to people builds trust. It certainly built trust with Sammy, with me. It built some trust with Ellie. It built some trust with Janine and with Owen. And if we could have, if we didn't lose, and with Mariah, of course, because we lost that immediate challenge. And then we all started fracturing, and the game of Survivor came home too early for us because of Mariah's exit. But we were looking forward to being on the beach together for a while until disaster struck on day 1 or 2, and then bam, game
As
starts.
Chaos Cass would say, you were the Kumbaya tribe at first.
We sure were. We were. And then a lightning bolt hit you, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. Then you had to vote out the rainbow hair colored lady.
Sadly. Rainbow warrior. That's right. Rainbow queen.
I love Mariah. Hopefully she gets another chance one of these days. She deserved more.
Maybe for the 50th season, they do something really interesting. Like, I would love to have like 5 tribes of 10. Okay. 50 people. 5 tribes of 10.
Okay.
50 people for 50 days.
Okay.
And one tribe is all first boots. One tribe is all first boots. One tribe is, second, like runner-ups. One tribe of runner-ups. One tribe of returning champions. One tribe over 30 and one tribe under 30. There's your 50.
I think you just combine like 3 seasons in one.
Oh yeah, but we'll do a bunch. Well, it's the 50th. It'll be the 50th season. They have to do something super special. I'm a fan. I have high expectations. I want to see them do something amazing.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. Obviously, I've joked around with you because I've applied for the show. I'm going to apply again, which is going to be great. I believe it in my heart that I'm going to be on this show one of these days. Whether or not I will do great, that's a different story. But it's a topic for another day. But I've joked around about the fans versus favorites. How if we're on there, I'm gonna put you out in your ass, like that kind of stuff. But the beauty is, I actually thought about it critically the other day. I was like, all right, hold on. If Gabler's on like a returning season, if it ends up being like not heroes versus villains, but all returners, like second chances. Well, you don't need a second chance. You won. But if you're on that, I was like, you know what? Whether there's one winner or multiple, I think Gabler's got a good shot. And that's very exciting when I talk to you and I just go like, I'm looking at a guy who I think could win twice, like Sandra. It's great.
Man, I'm telling you, the Alligator strategy is just in its infant stage. There's plenty more to go where that comes. I'm trying to get back in shape and rolling around, and I'm trying
to get back in shape. You're already there, my man.
That's right, buddy.
I've seen the guns. Look at that.
That's right, we got it going.
The tattoos are practically 3-dimensional at this point. Yeah. No, there's a lot of awesome stuff, and I hopefully there is a returner season coming soon. I mean, we're 5 seasons in. There's plenty of people that you can pull out. I did like a New Era Cook Islands video just for fun to try to put a tribe together. I had to make all kinds of concessions, and I was constricted by even just race. But if you just like open it up, and obviously you're going to have the diversity of requirement that CBS has in there. There's so much to work with. There are people I had to leave off that were obvious people that we want to see.
So many options. It's amazing. I love it because I know CBS is really excited about it, and they should be. This is going to be 50 episodes. Is an amazing run. It'll be like 25 years of a show being that highly rated. They just got an Emmy nomination, last year. So there's a lot of momentum, and I don't see them missing that opportunity.
I don't think so either. And I understand why they've had to do kind of a hard shift from, bringing back returners a lot between, I don't know, season like 23 and 40. But like people like returners. Usually that's why All-Star seasons are so popular in a bunch of different genres. So I think it'd be nice to have that with these new rules. I don't know if anyone pre 40 or 41 will be involved at this point, which kind of bums me out a little bit because I would want to see some people like Dominic Abate have another shot
I
from
would
Ghost
love
Island.
to see well, because we're fans. We're fans.
Yeah.
I would love to see people that have like past early Survivor playing, because they're people that inspired us and entertained us, and I would love to see them also their evolution, because if they've been watching, and I know most people do that have played before. They're still very up on their opinions and things. It's actually really interesting. When we go to these meetings where like Bryce and Wendell present
Mhm.
those events where you have all these former survivors and current survivors and fans, the conversations that I have like all night long with people, everybody, it's like you're talking about the game, and their opinion, my opinion, it just we're all like having the same enthusiasm and these ideas. It's really fun. If you haven't been to one of those, Bryce and Wendell put together, they're all across the country. They're really fun. They're super fun to go to. You owe it to yourself to go do that. It's really fun.
It's true. For anyone out there who hasn't done it, I've been to two, which is really great. I went to the Washington D.C. one a couple weeks ago, which is really
Okay.
great because there were some pretty notable people all the time. Eliza was there from Survivor Vanuatu and Micronesia. One I didn't even realize was there straight up. I was disappointed. It was Becky from Cook Islands. She
Oh,
she looked exactly the same and totally different at the same time. So that was a mess up on my part. Of course, Bryce from Cagayan, Wendell from Ghost Island. Also, Bruce from this season in 44, Bruce Peralt was there, which I
sweet.
didn't realize he was going to be there. And Carla, I love Carla. Carla from 43, your season.
Love
So,
Carla.
yeah, and it's really fun. And the Philadelphia one is in like 2 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks. So
Yeah,
that's the next Bryce and Wendy can check out.
it's really fun. It's really fun. I've only been to two also. Went to a Seattle one and the New York one where we were there together with you.
Mhm.
Incredibly fun. I mean, just so fun, and the energy's great. They're really cool. I'm going to go to the LA one and for the 45 finale.
Yeah, they put on a really good they put on a really good show, I admit, and they're experts at it at this point. And I think I'm going to be at the LA one too, because there was an event that Gabler and I both were going to go to. I know that's kind of shifting right now, called
Charity
Hearts of
event, yeah.
Reality. Yeah, it's a charity event called Hearts of Reality that happened every year. Kind of out of nowhere, they just kind of canceled it. So a lot of plans are all over the place at the moment. But what I think was scheduled a week later is the 45 finale in LA. So my plans have opened up, and I'm like, wait, let's see if we can make the LA thing happen. And of course, Gabler is going to be going anyway, because Survivor royalty right here is going to go, hang
We'll
out
have
a
some
little bit.
fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I know we're getting to sort of the wrap up period. There's lots to talk about. There's one thing I would not forgive myself if we finish this and we didn't talk about it. You know, the Mergatory setup, how it is, how the tribes end up getting like randomly selected and put together.
Yeah.
Someone at one point threw out the idea like, why can't they like pick? Why like what if we had a situation where the castaways right away, if we want to talk about putting our cards on the table, they got to do that. How would
Oh,
you
it's
feel
it's
about the idea of that?
you know that's how they used to do it, right? They've done it that way before. It's very cringy because the last pick is always really odd.
Hmm.
There's it's a little uncomfortable. I don't mind it, but at the same time, it's uncomfortable. Like I wouldn't want to be the picker at that point. I'd rather be
Well, what
picked.
if? Well, let me say, at least in the format, I'm thinking, what if it were like you have two initial pickers, and then the person you pick has to pick the next one?
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. It's still the rocks one is probably faster. Maybe that's why they do that.
Hmm.
It's also totally random.
Hmm.
The other one, like you said, they're fun either way. I like them either way. I know that when we were dividing into tribes, into teams, um, for the first individual immunity challenge, we were there on the beach and it was like pick your teams, and we opted to paint rocks, and we did that ourselves out of my Carhartt hat that I had. We all kind of, I think that's the hat we used, but I think we pulled it all out of there, and that's how we got our teams. Because I remember Owen wanted to be with, he was wanting to be with Sammy or somebody else, not me. And our rocks were together, and I wanted to be with Owen because Owen's really good in challenges. I was like,
Yeah.
obviously, very good chance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but he didn't know that I could balance very well or what it was going to do. So he was like, I could see he was already bolting over to somebody else, not me. But the rocks were drawn, and I got Owen, and I was like, awesome. This is
Let's
great.
go.
Yeah, and we ended up winning. We ended up getting to the very end, and then the whole thing worked out. So yeah, that
Sure
was good.
did. Well, that's and that's. I know you said that's awkward, but I mean, I guess that's really what I'm getting at.
It's good TV.
Yeah, I mean, and also, you want to talk about putting your cards on the table. You throw out Ellie's name by throwing out Ellie's name. How about you throw out a name or two by picking? Because there could be, although the way the Mergatory is set up kind of counters maybe the big effect of it. There could be a situation where you try to load up one tribe with people you like versus if you think you'll actually win. Because you either, or someone you hate because you want to make sure that you maybe even try to throw it so that they're in the line of danger.
I don't think you ever try to throw something, but I will say this. You go, because I think the karma gods, the survivor gods get you if you throw something. I do believe that.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's never works out for you if you do that. But, if you were able to explain yourself, just say, we're picking teams and, one of my first picks would probably be Caleb or Austin, right? That's probably out the gate. Then I'd probably go, Kelly or Bruce, that's kind of, because you're picking to win the challenges. But Survivor is such a weird, fun experience because you could pick the two small people that you don't think is going to win, or the oldest guy on the team like me and Owen, and we beat everybody to get to the end. It's like you just don't know who's going to rise up when, and that's part of the fun of watching Survivor because it's so organic that Jeff doesn't even know what's going to happen. Jeff doesn't even know, and that's when on my season, Noelle won that last challenge, and threw that she was the girl with one leg. Threw that beanbag onto the telephone pole and it stuck and she won it. She collapsed into tears and she's a Paralympian for the United States. She's a competitor. She was so overwhelmed because it was such a big thing that she came back from. That's a great episode to watch. But even the camera guys were tearing up. I mean, it was like Jeff, it was like nobody saw that was not affected by it. Because it was just such an awesome Survivor moment. And I was so proud of her and so happy to be there to see it in person.
Absolutely. That was a great moment. Because she was lagging behind pretty far. And then she ended up, taking it home. So I think a lot of people felt the way she did in that moment.
It was so cool. Yeah. She's emerged also as a really good friend post Survivor. She's doing a lot of great things with her Born to Run charity, getting prosthetic legs for children and adults that can't afford them. And she's just she's doing the long jump and the 100 meters in Paris for the United States next year in the Paralympics. And so Ryan is good from our season. Also, she got Ryan into the Paralympics, and Ryan is going to be sprinting in the 100 meters. So for the United States, it's amazing.
I heard about that. Because actually, funny enough, and I hate to go back to this, but when that Hearts of Reality event, I looked at the list, and I was actually talking to Lindsay Carmine. I was like, wow, like all of the Coco tribe is going to be there. And Lindsay said, except for Ryan, because he's in the Paralympics and he's training. So he's not going to be able to, take the time out. And I was like, wow, that guy, I mean, he was a badass on the show, but I'm not surprised that's extended, now to the
Ryan is, he's just such a great guy. Ryan is, he just had a son not too long ago, maybe a few months ago. Named him Atlas, which I think is a fantastic name for Ryan's son because Ryan's a beast. I mean, he's like probably 250 pounds of pure muscle and power.
Yeah, that's why when I looked at the tribes originally on your season, I was like, well, it looks like Coco's probably
Coco's
a good deal
stacked,
going on. I looked at James and Ryan, and immediately I was like, okay, I think this is probably going to go pretty well. And then you learn a little bit later that there's just badasses all around Coco, honestly.
Well, and then the challenges, right? It can be your balance. It can be this or that. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, Cassidy won 3 challenges, individual immunities on my season. Owen won 3. Cody won 1. I got 2. It's like there's you don't know who's, and you put all these people together. You look at them and you're like, I don't know. I don't know why one would win or the other one, but or the people that don't get it. You're like, and usually the difference is too in Survivor, which is amazing, is they're almost always photo finishes. Rarely is there a runaway. Sometimes there are. With Lulu this year, there were plenty of runaways, but the games are designed usually for a, really neck and neck finish. And for the most part, at least on our season, they were.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, the only like actual blowout I can remember of the new era was there was one challenge where Taku and 42 destroyed everyone else, but that's because they had Jonathan. And when it was his challenge, it was his challenge.
When it was his challenge, dude. Yeah, if it's his challenge, take the burger, whatever. If Jeff's offered something, take it.
Just have a seat. Just have a seat. I remember he carried Taku to the end of one challenge, and then they had to stop because no one else could actually pick up the damn ladder that he carried himself.
In the water. He was underwater doing it. I mean, the guy just has incredible will, and he's doing a lot of great things post-Survivor. He's building a lot of Habitat for Humanity with Mike, Fireman Mike from 42 as well.
I love Mike.
They're doing great things. I mean, Mike's retired, and he goes and helps Jonathan on some of these projects in Central America or the South or other parts of the United States that need some help. I mean, Jonathan's doing great work out there, and so is Mike, of course.
Absolutely. Real quick to kind of dial it back, and you're a fan of Big Brother this season, just like myself, and it actually relates to what I was just talking about there. One of the things that was kind of more old school Survivor that, like, maybe the fact that you commented about the idea of it being awkward to choose tribes, maybe this plays into maybe your answer, is one of the things is that on Big Brother recently, there was a challenge where it was like a trick or treat challenge where you had to give candies to certain people left in the house and they were taken away. Basically, it was a big popularity contest. You were only going to do so well in that challenge based on the majority of the people that liked you, essentially. Your own strategy only mattered so much. And previously in Survivor, there were things like that. There was
a lot of things like that. Remember, they do some of the things where they're like, who is the least, intelligent person on your tribe? Remember that? I forgot what that was. I was like, oh my God, it's so painful.
Who thinks they're the smartest? Who'd you trust with your life? Like, I would love to see that again, because there have been a few times where it's been really relevant to shaking up the game.
Really, yeah, because that particular season, I forget which one I'm talking about, but
probably Panama. That's the one where freaking Courtney, she was the answer to everything bad.
it could have been, and maybe that was the one where she was picked last, and she was like, okay, now I see how it is, and it did change the game because she's like, okay.
I know in Survivor Marquesas it totally did. That's the season that it used to be my favorite, where they would do like you'd answer a trivia question, and if you got it right, you got to chop the rope.
Yes,
one of the people, and you had 3 chops, or you had 3 ropes, and
I would tell people real quick.
Exactly, and 2 people at the bottom of the Majority Alliance realized during that time that they were the first ones out of the Majority Alliance, and then they flipped it over to like Kathy and Sean Rector and Vesepia. Like that's really why Vesepia won, because that challenge she ended up, well, not me, that's one of the reasons. I would love to see that again pop up. I mean, I think for the most part, you all on the beach understand where people sit, but there are some times where you like, they always say like the jig is up once the votes are read. The jig will kind of be up once you see the chops.
Oh, it would. I love it. I hope they bring that back. I think that's a great one. That's an awesome one, because that's where the rubber meets the road right there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, hopefully, especially if it's for immunity versus reward, but there's kind of in my opinion, it's also kind of interesting if like people are willing to chop people just for a reward, let alone immunity. Because like the person who gets chopped, and it's like, so you gave up, like you basically told me that I'm not as valuable to you for like 2 pizzas and some wine.
Yeah, well, 2 pizzas and some wine is quite a bit out there.
It is, but you know what I mean? Like, it's, like if your eye is like, if you're really good at having your eye on the end prize, then you could even see that as an insult. I don't know.
But you would sure, you take it all different ways. I mean, but you also have, like, Owen and I had an agreement in our season where once we were getting towards the end, like, look, if I win this challenge, or if you win it, if I win it, I'm not taking you, because you need to stay back at camp. Be sure things don't get out of control while I'm eating a steak over here, and vice versa. Now, he ended up winning the challenge on that last one. He got steak and potato, and he took Cassidy, and I had to stay back with Jesse and Carla. as we had kind of planned on a little bit. But I'm like, I was looking at him like, dude, forget all that. Take me. I need a
Give me the
steak
steak.
so bad. I got to eat so bad. And, but he took Cassidy, and I went back and I did, like we had talked, and I just made sure that, Carla and, and we've got Jesse, so nothing crazy happened, because those are two hella players. And, if they would have taken me and Cassidy was back there, who knows? Maybe me and Joan would have been the next two out, because for our $1 million stake. And that happens on Survivor all the time.
And steak is, it's expensive in some places, but not that rich. So I think that ultimately that's a good thing, but you have to be thinking clearly. And even though you talked about it, I know can switch it up, but this is where I'm saying, I mean, Probst has enough twists in the game that it's probably not necessary, but I love the idea of you having to show your cards.
Oh, it would be fun. I would love to see it.
Which, by the way, I think this is a challenge that Cirie, one of the few challenges Cirie has ever won, is who would you trust the most, who's the least stupid, because she knows people really well and people aren't looking out for her to get rid of her. Yeah. Once again, proving why Cirie is a supreme social player. Just want to say
she is. And, I know there was some kerfuffle when she exited Big Brother. They asked her, what's harder, Survivor or Big Brother? And you could tell by her answers, her brain, she was literally playing that game at a million miles an hour before she walked up the stairs into that room. And she's like, she goes, Survivor's hard, but 93 days in that building is a pressure cooker of immeasurable power. I get it. They're both super hard. There's no doubt about it. But I think when you go through something like that, especially she literally walked 100 feet, and that comes out. I'm sure that was really tough on her all around. And I take it a little tongue in cheek what she was saying, anyways, because both are, it's like what's harder to climb, Everest or K2? I don't know. You climb both of them, you get right up there to the very tip top, like Cirie did. Mm-hmm. I think she's pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's also, you'll also have to take it with a grain of salt in that she literally just got out of the house. I mean, Survivor's ages ago. That was her last season was probably 6-7 years ago, something like that. So to her, it's very slanted, and she had probably wanted out of there for a while. Most of her allies were taken out.
93 days in that show would be enough to drive you nuts. I can't even imagine.
I'll say this for anyone who doesn't watch, Cirie shouldn't have lasted a week. She should have been gone week 1. If they had any kind of sense, but
it was her social play, right? She was just that good. And honestly, if it wasn't for Jared, I think she may have even gotten a little further, because she had to kind of use some of her clout to kind of help him out. He was very good. Not saying he's not, but she's still mama, and he's still learning. Cirie has a triple black belt. We're going to go Sefue style. She's got a triple black belt in social gymnastics, and he's still learning.
She was playing for 2 people, and ultimately until he was gone. So it's tough. But real quick, as we get closer to wrap up, we can't end this by not talking about Jiah.
Of course. Yeah.
Poor Jiah. The vote went to Caleb. He played his shot in the dark, which we didn't talk about that much, but we kind of, messed around with. He played his shot in the dark. It actually worked out. Although I do have to say, I want to kind of lambaste CBS a little bit on this. They do a clue in the intro for something in the episode, and the little clue this time around was the shot in the dark. And even on socials a couple hours before the episode, they only showed the 3 or 4 second clip of the shot in the dark playing. So, or falling to the ground. And when I saw that as a fan, I was like, well, I know someone's playing the shot in the dark, and really good.
I figured
it's going to be successful. Yep. They're basically shoving it in my face to watch tonight because someone will hit it. I didn't know who it would be, but once Tribal started, I was like, okay, it's going to be Caleb.
You're starting to figure it out. Yeah, that's true. It was probably too big a clue.
So a little bit of the surprise was taken away from me, which I wish CBS would not do, but they're trying to get ratings. But anyway, it worked out, so there had to be someone else. There's a big scramble, and unfortunately, Jiah is the one who exited the game. Now, how did you feel about Jiah? An episode or 2 ago, did you think it would be her time so quickly?
No way. It was still too early for her. She got unlucky. In Survivor, to get to the end and to win, you've got to be good and you've got to be lucky. She's good and got unlucky, and that was just That's pretty simple. I mean, a little bit like Sabaya. I mean, Sabaya was one of my winner picks for the season, and she got unlucky on the Lulu death spiral and got clipped by it. That was with an idol in her pocket. But she was somebody that has the right stuff, if you will, that was going to go far. And I think that Jiah as well. She was also growing a lot as a person. You could see her out there. She did herself and her fans proud. I think it was just bad luck, man.
It was. You could argue, really it spiraled incredibly with Sean just saying that, telling the truth about his vote on the way out, because Sefue then believed Jiah was the one who did it. When it was D actually.
Excellent point.
And then Jiah even volunteered to take the blame for the stray vote, which I thought was really weird.
Well, maybe that was the downfall then, because that was a move that to make an enemy out of Sefue, and we're just getting to know him a little bit, but they know him a lot better. And if he's a guy that's not going to take that well, you probably don't want to put that bullseye on yourself unless he is your very next target and he's going out. And I think they were playing a dance around him, trying to be with D and Jiah, and they were doing lots of different things. But she put her name on that, and she put her name out there as for somebody else to say. And next, I mean, he started saying Jiah like the immediate minute he knew it was her to everybody that he could.
He brought it up in the MERGATOry.
He did.
That's ridiculous. I don't understand why you would ever throw your name out there as to be the target.
You don't. You don't. So you know what? Part of it is bad luck, because it was bad luck and she went before her time. But I think that move, if she could have that back, she would have not done that, because that she got Sefue out there banging the drum, Jiah to everybody. And when so people's neural pathways are already thinking about, like, Caleb first, Jiah second, maybe Emily third. If they got put on the spot at that point, maybe that's where they would go. But Jiah putting herself out there, giving that opportunity and giving legs and credibility to that story. I would probably not want that story going around that I did the vote, unless I really did the vote. And then that's a whole other spin.
Yeah, she took ownership of something that was not hers. And I know it came out of her, like her trying to say, like, you know what, guys, we're all a big team here. I'll take the bullet. But they were not a big team. And, she tried to will it, and it just buried her, I think.
It's a small team. And that's probably where, like, her true nature got in the way there a little bit. Where, 'cause she's probably that honest person that will, like, take one for the team and do something like that in real life, where she's like, I'll be responsible, I can lead this, I'll take that responsibility. That's real life. This is the game, and that's putting a big target on you. You're creating an enemy, where before everybody's just kind of floating around on Survivor Beach. Sefue, knowing him the way we do this many weeks in now, if he's going to hold on to that, and he did, and he was beating the war drum. I don't think I know it wasn't entirely him that got it done, because it was Jacob all the votes. But the second round, I think that because she was in conversation as the runner-up, it was the easy decision for most people to switch to. And probably during that discussion on stage, you can imagine Sefue was just telling everybody that he could get his hands on, Jiah. So
totally.
It was a cause and effect is real, and I think that you're smart to point that out.
I think that was the case. I mean, I still, honestly, other than Sefue, I still don't understand why Reba would turn on one of their own when there's a big numbers battle between Bello and Reba. But whatever. They were pretty unanimous about it for the most part. So it must have, maybe like Austin Drew felt it'd be better to have a Sefue around or a Bruce around for right now than a Jiah, who could team up with a lot of maybe smaller physical people that are going to start seeing these big shields and like, all right, we're gonna have to take out some of these big boys.
Yeah, ladies, maybe there's a ladies alliance brewing that we don't know about, or that was kind of going, and they were concerned about her. Post merge, when it's an individual game, it has happened before where tribes will stay together, tribal lines, but I think that is a very temporary thing. I think that if you get post merge, you need to be looking at viability through other people, because you're going to be you're going to be shaken up quick. And if you're not doing it, somebody on your tribe is doing it to you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been a part of the Baka Boys, the Coco Crew, the Ride or Die. I'm talking to this guy right now. Of course you feel that way.
Move around. Keep moving. Don't let anybody get a target on you.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Hey, you won. It's all about navigating the field, because eventually a lot of these people in the same tribes want to get rid of each other. I mean, Cass and Carla were just waiting to get rid of each other the whole time. And
Sure.
you said Ryan and Cass, like, they were never really together. It was just, it's a matter of when and how.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly, Rod. Exactly. And Jiah did get unlucky, but she also created a little bit of her own luck by being in that situation in the first place, incurring Sefue's wrath. And, he was certainly not a voice on the beach for her. It was always against her, anybody that would listen to him. So that really didn't probably work out for her. But, she's a delightful person. And I think I can't wait to meet her someday and talk with her, because, she's tough. She was great in challenges. She had fun. I think she had a great time. I think she had a good showing. I think she did well on Survivor.
I agree. I wish she had a little bit longer, but I was always fearful she was going to be like Claire from 44, where going into it, I was like, I can see the potential, but I don't know. I think her legs are going to get cut off from under her. I didn't know it would be like this. I didn't know it would be because she was too trusting. I thought it'd be probably the opposite. So, actually, we're wrapping up here now at this point. Gabler's got to head out. Thank you again so much for being part of this. But before you go, it's a super fun Emily moment of the episode. It's like each week now at this point, I think Emily's going to be here to the final 3, probably.
I hope so.
And there's always going to be stuff that happens that's coming from Emily that is just wholly invaluable. So we're going to pop up a clip, my favorite clip of this episode, that Emily just made me laugh. And we're going to watch that for a second.
Pretty strongly against you. Like shot in the dark level against you.
Oh my God.
I want you to have the chance to try to save yourself somehow.
So what about Bruce?
Bruce voted for you 100%. He doesn't like you at all. Sorry.
Wow. So it's true though. She's firing truth bullets, and she's firing them in an appropriate place to an appropriate person. And I think that's it. That's her magic. If she can keep on focus, telling it how it is to the right people. I mean, I would trust her immediately. She's a trustworthy person.
There's no bullshit in her. There's no lying in her. Like, she means what she's saying right now. It's 100% straightforward. And that's what I love about her. I think she's the perfect ally. If she's really with you, she's a great ally. But the reason why I used this clip and it made me laugh is it was very much the specific last line of it, where Caleb's like, what about Bruce? He's like, oh no, he's voting for you 100%.
Like you at all.
Bruce doesn't like you at all. Sorry. It was that last sorry. She was just straight up. She's like, let's get past this. He thinks you suck, and you're going to go if it's up to Bruce. So let's move past this and work on a solution. And I love that about her. She's great.
I do too. And man, Caleb's composure was pretty good, because, that is like a gut punch to be walking and be like, hey, come here. Everyone's voting for you. And you're like, what? I just talked to everybody, and I see things are going really well. And they're like, nope, all of a sudden it's gone. And Bruce, somebody that you thought you were, I mean, I'm glad he got that shot in the dark. And I really, to your point earlier, if he can win this next individual immunity, I think he has to. If he wins it, he buys himself another few weeks in the game at least.
Absolutely. And with that shot in the dark, and if he wins immunity again, he's starting to build a resume on top of just naturally being a great social player. And players do not like players with great resumes getting too far, especially not in the new era. So it's not going to last forever unless he can win an immunity here and things shake up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but
that's fun. Can't wait.
It's going to be really fun. Next episode, I'm sure we'll see a little bit more. Maybe they'll do the thing where maybe there'll be 2 immunities, and the tribe gets split up into 2 separate tribes that vote separately, or there's just one tribe that's going to vote and the others chill. I don't know how it's going to shape up, but we'll see how it shakes out. No matter what, we'll be talking a little bit about it, and we'll hear more from Gabler at some point in the season, I'm sure. But in the meantime, my man's got to rock and roll. You all pay attention to the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button to the Survivor Super Fun Time show. There's going to be more stuff coming out in the future, obviously, and you can watch us watch me on Instagram, and also make sure to follow Gabler on Instagram as well. Sometimes he puts some pretty gnarly posts on there. So
You
check
bet.
that
Yeah,
out, okay?
Cody and Sammy and I jumping off cliffs in Hawaii was on there. It was pretty fun. It was a good summer.
Absolutely. And you can't see that everywhere. You have to follow Gabler's Instagram. That's where you're going to see that. But thank you again. I hope you all have an amazing day, everyone. You take care and goodbye.